Hello everybody, Spirited Senior here. I've got some more items of news for you. This one seems pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead with it. An unshackled Trump finally gets the presidency he always wanted. No longer hemmed by AIDS, Trump has bent the presidency into a mold of the Trump Organization. The China War, talks with the Taliban, the response to Iran after Saudi attacks, gun control, new tax legislations, and a long list of other policy issues are up in the air and awaiting decisions from President Donald Trump and him alone, heading into the 2020 election season. In many ways, it's the presidency Trump has always wanted. You know, they think he's a fool. He's always about 5 to 10 steps ahead of everybody. He's at the center of the action. He's fully in command, and he's keeping world leaders on edge and ensuring of his next move. All without being hemmed in by aides or the traditional structures of the White House. After 4 national security advisors, 3 chiefs of staff, 3 directors of Oval Office operations, and 5 communications director, the president is now finding the White House finally functions in a way that fits his personality. Trump doubters have largely been ousted, leaving supporters to cheer him on and execute his directives with fewer constraints than ever before. It's a government of one in the same way in which the Trump Organization was a company of one, said a former senior administration office. In the first year of office, President Trump was new to the job. He was more susceptible to advisors and advice. There were more people urging caution or trying to get him to adhere to processes, the former senior official added. Now, there are very few people in the White House whose view that their role, or as something they want to try to do, or even have a relationship with him. Well, yeah, the ones he had in there before weren't exactly buddies, eh? The presidency of one is now heading into an election year supported by campaign staffers and White House aides who are quick. Say Trump is the best political strategist as well as the most effective messenger, and they intend to follow his lead wherever 2020 goes. The transformation of the Trump White House, for its early attempts at a traditional structure to its current freewheeling style, has exacted a heavy toll on his staff, but a steady stream of departures, the highest senior staff turnover in any recent president by far, has also left fewer forces trying to bend the president to the usual process of the top ranks of government. Thank God for that. It's very easy actually to work with me. You know why it's easy? Because I make all the decisions. They don't have to work. Trump told reporters last Friday as he explained why his national security advisor, in his mind, is now a low-key post. Trump fired his third such advisor, John Bolton, last week, and he named a new national security advisor on Wednesday morning by tweet. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, gives the president free rein to let Trump be Trump, as Mulvaney said, having seen the fate of his 2 predecessors, Reince Priebus and John Kelly. Well, yeah, they both had to go. I didn't think he would have fired Kelly, but he did. The dwindling of top senior staff has left the president in the company of his family members, Mulvaney, Kellyanne Conway, Larry Kudlow, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and the omnipresent Stephen Miller. Yes, I think he's great. Who mostly focuses on immigration. Current and former senior administration officials said. In the past 3 years, Trump also lost several trusted aides, most of whom played no role in major policy decisions but were frequently present. Trump trusted them. They could read his moods, and their loss has been felt throughout the building, say current and former White House aides. This includes his former bodyguard, Keith Schiller, former body man John McEntee, former communications director Hope Hicks, and former press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who left the administration in June after morphing into more of a top advisor than top communications aide. Well, that's true. To outsiders, it felt like watching an increasingly unbound and unleashed version of the Trump presidency. Well, it's because they're dumb and they don't know what he's doing. But to many Trump allies, aides, and longtime observers, the president is showing the world the way he's always operated. Only now it has become clearer because he is receiving less pushback from staff and advisors, and has very few effective checks on his administration from Congress, the National Security Committee, or Fellowship Republicans. Yeah, well, everybody's going to remember those Republicans, who bucked him, all the way through. Don't vote them back in. The Trump I'm seeing now, to me, is the same Donald Trump who has existed for 50 of his last 73 years. This is very much in keeping with how he rolled in the business world. The only difference is that now he is doing it on a global stage, said Timothy O'Brien, author of Trump Nation, The Art of Building the Donald, and executive editor of Bloomberg Opinion. There is little policy process left in the White House faces consequential decisions on Iran, North Korea, China, trade, and the economy, even as the president intends to use the last name as a major selling point for his re-election bid. Sure, why not? Look what the other ones are going to be using. You can't just turn the economy on and off. These are big, slow-moving machines. And he's operating under this major fallacy that he can keep telling the market things, and they will keep believing him on China or whatever else, said one advisor close to the White House. And that he can just all of a sudden turn things around with a China deal or whatever it is, and it works that way. Only one of President Trump's top White House aides disputed the notion of a fractured policy process. With every decision he makes, there is a deliberative, coordinated policy process, and ultimately the president makes the best decision in the interest of the American people, the White House press secretary said. No president has had more success in his first 2.5 years than President Donald J. Trump. In spite of 93% negative news coverage, yes, this president has built a safer, stronger, and more secure America, including record job gains, economic growth, fair and reciprocal trade, criminal justice reform, energy independence, combating the opioid epidemic, lowering prescription drug pricing, and restoring our standing in the world. Just a little few things. That's not much, guys, eh? I've never heard of any other president even doing near that. In the past few weeks, Trump has publicly announced that the U.S. is locked and loaded in case Iran turns out to be the culprit behind last weekend's missile strikes in Saudi Arabian oil factories. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And all the shit that goes into the air when that's burning. He laid out on Twitter since cracked plans to invite the Taliban to Camp David for negotiations days before the anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. And he introduced the idea of additional tariffs on China one Friday, setting off a scramble inside the West Wing that forced his top economic officials to abandon top-level meetings, rush to the Oval Office, and make policy in the wake of his tweet. The downward momentum in Trump's approval ratings scares me a bit from a foreign policy perspective because he is a win-at-all-costs type of person. I'm sorry, his approval rating went up, not down. I don't know where this person's getting their information. Oh, fake news maybe. Yeah, I think it's fake news pretty much, eh? I worry he could get us all in ill-advised military conflict in an attempt to regain support. Anthony Scaramucci, the New York financier and short-lived White House communications director. Yeah, kind of figured that comes from somebody like him. From an economic perspective, he's going to reach into his bag of tricks and try to stimulate growth. I think he'll end up cutting a trade deal with China to remove the cloud of uncertainty from markets. But I think due to his increasing desperation, it will end up being a bad deal for U.S. He's not desperate, Scaramucci. You know, just because you couldn't make it. Don't blame him, you're a loser. In addition to the president's relative isolation, he and the administration face several challenges this fall, over which Trump does not have total control, including foreign policy challenges such as Iran, China, or Korea, ongoing risks to the economy, passage of the U.S. Mexico-Canada trade agreement, or potential congressional action on gun control. Well, you know, they can do anything they want right now, because these people who are fighting our First Amendment rights, our Second Amendment rights, and every other right that we have, are not going to be voted back in. And they're going to make sure that there's no screwing around with the elections this time. This uncertainty may not sit well with a president who has said he likes to make all the decisions, said O'Brien, the author of Trump Nation. Well, he's in charge. What the hell? Whatever actions he does take now will also become part of his record heading into the election. He will have to answer specific questions about the report card, and he will be frustrated by those, O'Brien added. Really, he doesn't look frustrated to me, but if the president seems liberated, it's been an evolution to reach that point. In the early days, Trump felt out of his depth on national security and foreign policy, or what he legally could do through executive action. Oh yeah, the three former senior administration officials said. He knew, for instance, he wanted to roll back the Obama legacy on regulations or environmental rules, but he did not initially grasp the mechanics of doing so. Yeah, that Obama thing. And you have to pass it to see it. Really? People were really stupid, you know? Nor did he understand the breadth of the federal government, like the huge number of people employed or the unusual checks of presidential power like Congress or the courts, said one of the officials. Trump is the first president elected who did not first hold political office or serve in the military. While this outsider status helped propel his political rise and underscored his populist message, it also left his government far behind operationally and to organize as it looks over the White House. Well, he had to learn the ropes first. And he's not a dumb man, he's a very wise person. So, you learn the ropes, and now, 2.5 years later, I believe he's in control. And these people in Congress are going to be leaving fast. Well, most of them will be in jail anyways. For child trafficking. Child trafficking. And drugs. I mean, the cartel pays Pelosi, pays Schiff, pays Brown to let them come through. Read about it. In the ensuing 3 years, Trump has gotten more comfortable with the trappings of the office and has formed his own relationship with world leaders, say current and former administration officials, even as he upends traditional global alliances. He's earned a greater understanding of his executive authority and has developed relationships with many members of Congress whom he calls directly. Now, the White House runs as he prefers, with him at the center of the action, speaking directly to reporters from the Oval Office, breaking his own news and laying out policy decisions by tweet. Well, if that's the way he has to operate to get the truth out, good for him. I hope he keeps doing it. This is now more of a government built on the basis of Trump's reactions to things, said one of the former senior administration officials. Notice former. The president has learned as much as he cares to know about the mechanics of government. He's figured out on most things he can continue to play a public relations battle. Well, yes, and that's what it's all about. But he has accomplished so much. They just mentioned just a little bit of his accomplishments there. But, he has accomplished so much. And definitely, if we all get out to vote, he'll be back in and take the House and the Senate. Remember that. We need the House and the Senate. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a good day.